This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, look at the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
It's Sports 225, and eventually we'll talk some basketball and sports with former LSU basketball coach John Brady, who's my guest tonight, who also now is the analyst for LSU basketball games. But first off, right off.
Okay.
However long ago it was, I wake up one morning, I'm scrolling through my Facebook, and there's a video of you up on stage with Katy Perry. Now you got.
Hey.
Now I searched around before we started the show, so I want to later on be able to post a picture. You got a picture, right, that you can get me?
I may have something on my phone.
Well,
I'm not very good at that.
So I'll tell.
Maybe.
I'll tell the backstory, which of course is
Okay.
that your daughter, who's a dancer with the Lakers now.
She was.
She's no longer with the Lakers.
Because she's doing this deal with Katy Perry.
Right, and she's on tour with Katy Perry as a dancer. Now, did Katy Perry know that when she got you up on stage? Like, tell me how all that unfolded.
Well, Brooke was a Laker girl, and then her agent out there in L.A. that got her this tryout with Katy Perry's world tour, and she made it. They went from like 400 girls to 8, and Katy Perry came in when the final 24, and she picked the last 8 girls. Katy Perry did. So Brooke's been traveling all over the world with her, and they happen to be in New Orleans. Well, Katy Perry has this famous song named Swish. I don't know anything about it, but everybody 30 years younger than us know it, 40 years younger than us, they know it. So during the performance, she always invites somebody to come up on stage and shoot some baskets with her. Well, Brooke kind of prepped her manager, and then she got to Katy Perry with it and told her who I was and I was going to be there. And Katy Perry says, yeah, we'll do it. We'll get your dad up there. It's kind of a prearranged deal. So
you knew?
I knew an hour before the performance. So when they flipped all the lights on in the Smoothie King with 15,000 there, I had to jump up and down like I was wanting to be called upon, like, hey, call me, like right up my alley.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
The dancers knew where I was sitting, and they kind of pointed over there, and they said, Katy, come over here. And she looked, she says, how about you, sir? I said, me? So I run down there, jump over the rail, and go through this little skit with her. And she did set me up a little bit. She asked my name, where I lived, and she says, John Brady, you used to be a basketball coach, didn't you? And look, when she opened that up, I threw out LSU, Final Four. And she told me, she said, John, calm down, what she told me on stage.
Now, had you ever met her before this?
Never met her. And I said, Katy, by the way, you know my daughter. She says, who's your daughter? She played El Dumbo for a minute. And I said, Brooke Brady. I said, she's standing right there. And Katy says, we love Brooke. And I went over and gave Brooke a hug, and it was one of those father-daughter moments, And then my oldest, Brittany, got me to ride in Mid-City Parade. She was a maid. We were on a float. So my start to 218, because of my 2 girls, I've been on stage with Katy Perry and got to ride in the Mid-City crew in Mardi Gras, and I've had a good January, February.
John Brady. That's unbelievable. But then on top of that, just today as we're taping this on Wednesday, the SEC announced its legends for the SEC tournament. What the SEC does every year is for each of the 14 schools in the league, they honor a former person from that team, a coach, a player. And this year, the honoree is the man who coached LSU to the 2006 Final Four, John Brady.
That's really nice. Really nice. Let me tell you about that. I'm sitting on the plane, and I look up, and Kent Lowe and Will Wade are walking down the aisle, and Kent.
This is returning from the basketball game.
Well, this is before we took off to go to one. This is like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
We're sitting out here at the tarmac, and Kent Lowe says, Coach, we need to talk to you about something. And I started going through my file in my brain.
How did I make Will mad, right?
I said, I must have said something stupid on the radio. I said, okay, what did I say wrong on the radio? And Will says,
now you
no.
know what it's like to cover you. Phone's ringing, he goes, Brady, oh God, what now?
Heart sinks.
That's right.
So Will said, no. And Kent says, we want you to be the LSU legend at the SEC basketball tournament, represent, LSU. And that was really nice. I almost got emotional there for a moment, because with all the things that happened over the years, and for it to come back to me to represent the university like that, I got to thank Will Wade and the incomparable Kent Lowe.
Unbelievable. How about that full
And then
beard
also
he's
the
got going
LSU
on?
athletic administration for allowing me to represent them there. That was really, really nice. Really nice.
Well, I'm sitting in this hotel room in October, late September, early October, in Maryland, the University of Maryland. On campus, there's a Marriott there, and I was there for some other stuff. Anyway, get back to the room and flip on the TV, and they got the Big Ten Network. It's the first thing that comes on this. You know how stations are pre-programmed on the TVs in hotels. Right. This is the Big Ten Network, and they're doing a football conversation, and Jerry DiNardo's talking to Les Miles on set live. And then the next day, I get some kind of notice that John Brady is going to be the analyst for LSU basketball. And I thought, you guys are all just taking over the media. And I remember sending you a note or calling you, going, what the hell's going on here, you know?
Oh, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. Chris Blair's been great to work with.
Yeah, but it's just so funny, you know, like DiNardo's like a fixture on the Big Ten Network. Miles did a bunch of TV this year. Still wants to get into coaching, I hear. And then you, of all things, breaking down basketball, though, but nobody knows the game better than you. And I'm not just saying that. This man knows his hoops and always has.
Well, it's been fun, and I like injecting. I like preparing to see what LSU can do to win that particular game. And I like going over it when the game is over to see if I hit 3 or 4 of the things that we needed to do to win the game. And I asked, this is another one that's pretty. I asked Ward Wyatt. I said, now Ward, when I've been on the radio and I keep saying we and us and what we need to do to win this game, and I said, is that okay, or do I need to be more neutral? He said, no, John, that's why we wanted you here. We wanted you to be yourself. Then he paused for a minute. He said, well, not totally yourself, but somewhat of yourself. Well, I got that one.
Exactly. Well, you're getting pretty much what we both are. Hold that thought. Right. We'll take this break. It's Sports 225. He's John Brady. I'm Lee Feinsfeld. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the guy who enforces rules at Breck Parks. Check out my amazing presentation. Did you know? Motorized vehicles are not allowed in Breck Parks. Sales and solicitation are prohibited without permission from Breck. And my favorite rule, keep Breck Parks clean by placing all trash in trash cans. Come on, you can do this. For more information about these and other Breck rules, please visit breck.org/HDB.
All right, we're back on Sports 225. John Brady's here. He, of course, the former LSU and Arkansas State basketball coach, and before that, the Sanford coach, and before that, the Crowley High School coach, and gosh knows, I don't even want to go way back past there. But he's the analyst now for LSU basketball on the radio. And when I have had a chance to listen to you, because I don't listen to a lot of games on the radio per se, but I actually did listen to much of the Vanderbilt game because I was driving back from the New Orleans airport. Great victory for LSU, and it is refreshing to listen to a guy who breaks down the game and knows what the hell he's talking about. Because I listen to a lot of sports and I go, ooh.
Well, I appreciate that. It was one of the most remarkable second half offensive performances I've seen in college basketball. We shot over 70% from the 2-point line, 70% from the 3-point line, and 70% from the free throw line. Unbelievable. How you do that? I've never had a team shoot over 70% in a half.
You had a lot of teams shoot just the opposite, 30%.
Yeah. My deal, I was trying to guard the other team. I wasn't trying to outscore them. But this team here has developed a knack for scoring the ball. And
well, there's a couple of phenomena going on with this team. Number one is the freshman point guard, Tremont Waters, is very good. And when he's had his bad moments, and and he's going to have them again. But when he's good, he's exceptional. He's really quick, and he runs the offense well. And, of course, he can pop it. And then Aaron Epps being able to step out and shoot the three is just the damnedest thing I've ever seen.
That and Reese development off the low post has been a key for him, too. He slowed down a little bit. They got him on balance. He's not rushing off the post. He's been really good. He locates the defense a little bit better. So I like what they've done with this team. This team doesn't have a really rugged, tough nature guy that's a great defender. They're better defending, but they're certainly not where they're going to be.
Normally, like it's that power forward who's a badass who just takes control, right?
Yeah, the locker room guy who can take it to another intensity level. They don't really have that, but they have done a great job with this team. And, I was on Matt Moscona. He talked to me about after the Alabama game when we lost and people were disappointed. Well, before the season, there was no expectation level. We were picked last. Now all of a sudden, they developed an expectation level by what they accomplished this year. That in itself is improvement. So, I think it's remarkable what they've been able to do.
You know, just the idea. I mean, I think we thought they'd win 4 or 5, maybe 6 SEC games, and here you are with a few remaining at 7. And the damnedest thing about them is that they're obviously a matchup team. Certain matchups are good for them, certain matchups are bad.
You're exactly right.
And why in the world they matched up well with Texas A&M and Arkansas is beyond me. Because they should be 0 for 4 between those two teams, and they're 4-0.
Because they did what Vanderbilt did and did what Missouri did. They let Tremont Waters come off a ball screen uncontested. They would hedge it, go back to playing him one-on-one. The teams that have had success have guarded him with a bigger player, and when he's come off ball screens, really jammed him up, doubled him, made him give the ball up to somebody else. But if you let him play with the ball in a ball screen and you don't double team him or give him different looks defensively, he'll eventually get the advantage, and that's what he's done when they've let him play like that. Give him space, as Will Wade calls it.
You've been around long enough to see the SEC in every form or fashion, and there's always this generalization where you talk about the league and go, the league's up, the league's down. There's been some years, of course, where it's up, down, but it seems that maybe it's on an upswing and the bottom is pushing up right now. Is that fair to say?
I think the bottom is pushing up, and there's no Kentucky team, so to speak.
Yeah.
The top's come down a little bit, but the bottom has pushed up a great deal. And I said this before, and maybe you and I have talked about this. I think it's because the SEC, I think when they had some transition of coaches, which maybe I was one of back in that time, I think the SEC had 3 or 4, maybe even 5 hires that didn't work out. Mm-hmm. And the league kind of dropped because of that. Now I think in the last 3 years or so, they've hired the right coaches, experienced coaches, young coaches, a good balance, and I think that the coaches are in place, or the right coaches. The recruiting has picked up, elevated the talent of the team, the coaching is there. So like Florida, like Tennessee, I think you're going to see the same results like Alabama and LSU now. Will Wade seems to be the right guy. He is the right guy. This team's improved. They got better cavalry coming. And I've always kept it real simple that good coaching with good players make for good teams, and I think that's what's about to happen here.
All right, before we go to break, so put yourself in the role of an LSU basketball coach, which you know well, and you're Will Wade now. What do you tell a kid? Why do you come play basketball at LSU? What's the pitch?
Well, I think now he can sell based on what they've done this year and accomplished, the improvement that they're showing. They've signed some really good recruits that are coming next year. Good players like to play with good players. And I think he can show an upswing in attendance, enthusiasm. I think when a player visits here on this campus, he's going to feel the enthusiasm of the fans. I think there's a lot of positive things to say. They got the practice facility. You know, we had, Coach Brown and I had the fantastic dungeon.
The dungeon.
Now this practice facility is pretty big time. So he's got a lot of things going for him. And I think to his credit too, he's done the right things, but when he came in here, everybody wants him to do well. I came in following a guy who'd been here 25 years, little friction there. But since he's come in, this whole body of support for LSU basketball, they want Will Wade to do well, and I think that's going to be a difference too.
John Brady, the former LSU basketball coach and a really good basketball analyst and a good guest on Sports 225, who was on with me way back when we were Sports Monday, even the week of the Final Four in 2006. And you called me that. You got home and said, "You need me to come on Monday night?" That's one of the greatest moments of my life. All right, we got to take this break. When we get back, I got some tough questions for him about college basketball. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the rules guy for Breck Parks. Sometimes the rules slip past us, so I put together this amazing presentation. Did you know? Golf practice is only allowed at designated golf facilities. Firearms, explosives, and weapons are not allowed on Breck property. Metal detecting is allowed in some parks, but go to Breck's website to learn more about this and other park rules. For more information, visit breck.org/HDB.
All right, we're back on Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag hanging out with John Brady. And you were on all sides of the college basketball world,
Mm-hmm.
and assistant at Mississippi State, which, over the years of my long time covering college basketball, I always thought there might have been some shady things going on there. I'm not saying that because that was your nickname. He'll even say, "Oh, you're going to see so-and-so, tell him Shady said hello." You tell me that.
That's right.
When he was up at Arkansas State, one day I bumped into the whole volleyball staff, and I said, "Tell Shady I said hello." And they looked at me. I said, "No, call him Shady." They were afraid. They thought I was doing something wrong, whatever.
Or knew something.
So the FBI went after some people last fall. It's been a little bit quiet, but you've heard rumblings recently that it's going to resurface again. And my guess is there's a lot of really nervous assistant coaches because they tend to be the bag men. How prevalent and how much, once the bright light comes on all this, I know you've had to have given this some thought.
Well,
there had to be times when you had to say, "I'm glad I'm out of it."
Let me say, as a head coach, for me to plead ignorant to what my assistants do is a stretch for me. I was fortunate. I've never been investigated, never been charged with anything by the NCAA. I kind of like it like the IRS. So if they want to find something on you, they can eventually if they really want to spend that time. But for a head coach to plead ignorance to what his assistants are doing, I don't buy a lot of that because I was with my assistant coaches 24/7. I knew everything about them, what they were doing, when they were home, when they weren't home, where they were going, who they were with. So I don't think that you can cop a plea like that. I hear rumors too of a lot of high-profile coaches that this thing's going the domino effect. And since some of these assistants have been found, I guess, guilty by the FBI. You're not talking about the NCAA, you're talking about the FBI. And I think when they squeeze you in a room, somebody's going to talk. Somebody's going to spill something, and that's when they start.
Well, I was thinking those first four guys, like the coach at Auburn, the coach here, the coach there, they were lucky because they can turn state's evidence, which I assume they're going to spill their guts, and they're going to get less penalized maybe than the guys who get picked up later on. That may be
well, they're the low-hanging fruit. They're going to pick those off to get to the top of the tree, and I think that's what they started with. But I think one of the things I hear through the coaching carousel is when they went into that guy's office at Adidas and comped his computer, his records, all his data, all this stuff that he has, that really opened up a lot of different avenues that the FBI has been pursuing. And they say that, around the Final Four times when they're going to drop a bomb to make a big sensationalism thing out of this, like a big play with it. So, we'll see. It's unfortunate. I'm glad I can sleep at night. I don't have to worry about that sort of thing.
The old story, remember when Eddie Fogler took the job at South Carolina? He'd been at Vanderbilt, and then he went to South Carolina.
Right.
And then one night, 3 of his players got arrested or something. And the next day, Hugh Durham. Now, of course, Vanderbilt's in the SEC. South Carolina's in the SEC because I want to set up, make sure you get the joke. And Hugh Durham at Georgia called Fogler. He answers, goes, "Welcome to the SEC." As if Vanderbilt wasn't, but South Carolina was. But what
the real SEC?
Tell me something that, without naming names and incriminating yourself or anybody, because you're still part of the coaching community and
Right.
You're in the game, that people did to cheat that's worth knowing about. Give me an example of somehow.
Well, here's what I think opened up the can of worms was when we and I'm not saying, I don't want any AAU coach out there to think I'm dumping coals on an AAU program, but I think when we opened it up to summertime recruiting and we let AAU coaches become a big involvement in these young players' lives, the AAU coach for the most part has replaced the high school coach. I've always thought when you go through the high school coach, you go through the high school, you involve the parents, it becomes more legitimized as the recruitment process. But when you turn it over to an AAU coach, he's funded by some shoe company. Then the shoe company has influence on the AAU coach. He's giving the players free shoes, free warm-ups. You eliminate the parents almost. You eliminate the high school coach. We go straight to the AAU coach. He's got the power. So that's where if you're going to cut a deal, that's who you go see.
We're not going to point down at his feet, but today John Brady's not wearing Adidas, nor Nikes, nor Under Armours, nor whatever the heck else on his feet.
Johnston Murphy's.
Johnston Murphy. There you
no
go.
socks like Nick Saban.
Maybe we can get you a sponsorship there.
I don't believe anybody's going to sponsor me. That's okay though.
The other thing that I had always heard was that guys came to certain schools and they got packages. You know, a player might be worth $100,000. It wasn't straight like they gave him $100,000. Like, you know, a mom got a job, a sister got a car, somebody else got this. They got, you know, the lease on their car. There was this. There was some cash. Is that naive?
No, it's not naive. I mean, I think the thing that's the hardest to trace is cash. So, you know, if you're going if you really want to protect yourself, however somebody would come up with an avenue to pursue that's the direction, you know, somebody would go if they choose to take that path. You know, you're talking about cars and notes and all this involvement, too many people, too much area to trace. So, you know, it's like anything else. If you're going to make that sort of deal, you know, you might as well just go straight forward with it and walk away clean. Not that I know anything about that. You know, that's just what I hear for other people who've been involved in that sort of shenanigans.
I'm just going to go to a break so we stay on track and have a little bit of time left for the end of the show. He's John Brady. I'm Lee Feinswag. You can follow him at John Brady _coach. Isn't that what it is?
That's right.
That's it, on Twitter. And maybe find those pictures of him and Katy Perry. We'll be right back.
Well. Looks like someone forgot all neighborhood Breck Parks close at dark.
You want another?
I think they'll pass. Amplified music and sound is prohibited without permission from Breck. No alcoholic beverages on Breck property. Smoking of tobacco products is not allowed. Use of fire is prohibited except in grills. Gotta remember, Breck wants you to have fun, but in the right way. For more info, go to breck.org/HDB.
Coming down the home stretch of another Sports 225. Thanks to Nils Breckoff for directing the show today. Coming out of the bullpen, thank you, sir. Go to sports225.com to see all the show listings on Cox 4, which is Your View, and CST, and where we archive all the old shows, eventually this one, and John Brady from last year when he was on. You can go find all that stuff. We got the Sports 225 TV YouTube channel. John Brady's here. Of course, he coached at Samford, then at LSU, and at Arkansas State, among others in college, and he's followed the SEC forever. Mm-hmm. The SEC this year is really interesting. As you said, there's no Kentucky, although Kentucky is still, I wouldn't want to play them in the SEC, in the NCAA tournament, because they're going to get that low seed bid, and then they're going to mess people up. And then you've got Florida, and if you had to pick some teams that are going to merge and have a chance to do well in the NCAA tournament.
The teams that I saw that I really liked, I liked Auburn until they got their only post player really injured. Now he dislocated his ankle, and he's their shot blocker, rim protector. He's out. That's going to hurt them. I'd like the Tennessee team, but they have really no outstanding player. They got a collection of really good players that are well coached, well put together. I've always liked Rick Barnes. The team I like with their talent level and how hard they play defensively and rebounded is the Alabama team. The key to them, in my opinion, is how they approach offense. If they can be somewhat consistent offensively, and Sexton calms down from time to time, gets other players involved besides himself, I think they're talented enough. Defensively, they're good enough. They rebound the ball pretty good. If they get consistency offensively, I think they got a chance to win a couple of games.
There you go. Always great to see you. Thank you for coming.
Anytime.
Listen to him on LSU basketball radio broadcasts. He's the analyst for Chris Blair, who does the play-by-play. And, of course, follow him at Twitter at John Brady _coach. And if you're Facebook friends with him, there's all sorts of interesting things like John Brady with Katy Perry. All right. Hey, man, thank you so much.
Anytime.
All right. Thanks for watching Sports 225. We're out of here.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras,